Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yugioh Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Best of video. And in today's video, we are going to be ranking the 7 opening duels in the entire history of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. So that is the first duel in Duel Monsters, all the way to the current show, Yugioh 7. So it's a best of 7 list, I suppose, a top 7. This video was requested by my Egyptian God tier patron, Stella Sky. Big thank you to Stella for requesting this video idea, and I am really interested to hear from you guys as to what some of your favorite debut duels are, and as to what maybe some of your least favorite debut duels are, but I have broken it down. We are going to get into my thoughts, and remember, these are just my opinion. My opinion is definitely not the land of the law, so comment down below your lists, start getting those rolling. Really excited to hear from you, and without further ado, let's begin. I hope you guys enjoy. So kicking off the list at number 7, my least favorite opening duel is actually the opening duel in Yugioh Vrains, and that is Playmaker versus the generic Knight of Hanoi. Out of all of the opening duels, I just felt like this was one of the more throwaway duels. To be completely honest, I felt like it was just kind of a very generic and boring duel. It wasn't until the very end that Yusaku is able to go into the Data Storm to get Decode Talker, and then we finally see Decode Talker make his debut and destroy the Knight of Hanoi, but you know, other than that moment, there really was nothing special from this duel. I thought it was a little bit boring, and this is the only Yu-Gi-Oh! Show that did not actually have its debut duel in the first episode, and I thought the first episode was a really good world-building introductory episode, and then this duel just kind of fell flat, and Yusaku is dueling an opponent that is a very generic opponent that we really never see from or hear from again. You know, there's thousands of these generic Knights of Hanoi, so they definitely have the least to do with the future plot. You know, it's an introductory duel to speed duels, so I get that it had to be generic, but I just, again, don't think it has aged that well. It's a very quick duel. I think it's only 4 turns in total, and the Knight of Hanoi just tribute summons. There's really nothing special about this duel, if I'm going to be completely honest, and it is at the bottom of my list. Coming in 6th is the opening duel from Yugioh Sevens, and that is Oda Yuga versus Otis. Yes, that is Seto spelled backwards. Let's not get into those theories. But Yuga versus Otis, I thought, was another duel that was pretty just alright, if I'm going to be honest with you. And I think it suffers from the same issue that Yusaku versus the Knight of Hanoi had, where it had to act as a tutorial duel. While the speed duel was the first time the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime had ever really shown off that style of dueling, and they had to show off the Data Storm and how Playmaker was going to be able to gain all of these monsters, Yuga versus Otis had to show off rush dueling for the very first time. A brand new way to play, and the duel did feel very tutorial and a little bit stale, if I'm going to be honest with you. The one moment, though, that does put it ahead of Yusaku versus the Knight of Hanoi is that Otis, a character that I really do enjoy and a character that has a major role to play in the story of Yugioh Sevens, summons Blue Eyes White Dragon, so it was really cool to get slapped in the face with a wave of nostalgia when Blue Eyes was summoned. Yuga is able to get over Blue Eyes and ends up winning with his ace, Sevens Road Magician, and ultimately, just like the last duel, it didn't really do a whole lot for me. I actually think the episode is one of the weakest Yugioh Sevens episodes that we have had so far. I was not a big fan of episode 1 in comparison to the episodes that followed. But yeah, Yuga versus Otis, kind of generic, kind of boring, and it's number 6 for me. Nothing too special there. Coming in 5th is actually Yusei versus Ushio. This might surprise some people because obviously you guys know I like 5Ds quite a bit, but I was not a huge fan of this duel. I didn't think this duel was necessarily bad, but I just didn't really love the duel. I felt like it was very quick. I felt like it was almost a little rushed, honestly, in this episode. And maybe it's just the fact that Yusei and Ushio dueled like 5 billion times in the first 10 episodes, that every time I think of a Yusei versus Ushio duel, I just get really nauseous because of how much they dueled. The coolest moment for me is when Ushio summons Montage Dragon, which is one of my favorite monsters. I don't know why, but when I played Millennium Duelist, I was not a good duelist back then. I'm still not a good duelist, and I would just summon Montage Dragon. I'd fill my deck with high-level monsters just to summon it so that it was a ridiculously strong behemoth of a monster. So seeing that monster animated in the duel is really cool, but Yusei's turns are pretty quick until he summons Junk Warrior, and the summoning of Junk Warrior is nothing that really stands out to me. Obviously, Stardust Dragon is a much more impactful monster when it comes to Yusei, so I thought this duel was just a little lackluster. I didn't hate it. I didn't really hate any of the duels on this list, but Yusei versus Ushio is one that, watching it back, doesn't really blow me away. I felt like it was a little quick, but of course Ushio is a huge character in the show of 5Ds, maybe a little too huge in the early going, but yeah, Yusei versus Ushio is number 5 for me. Coming in 4th is Yuma versus Shark, the debut duel of Yu-Gi-Oh! ZEL. So I will be honest, the next 4 duels I feel like are all kind of in their own category. Yuma versus Shark I liked a lot. This is one of the only duels on the list that actually spanned 2 episodes. Yuma duels the school bully in Shark, who ends up playing, obviously, a monstrous role in the story of Yu-Gi-Oh! ZEL, being, in my opinion, one of the 2 rival characters. And Yuma is, of course, a massive underdog going into this duel. He's getting his behind whipped by Shark, and then he has the moment where he unlocks the door through the chain on his neck, and Astral shows up. I thought it was a really cool debut. The 2 of them bicker a little bit, and Yuma is finally able to get the win using the help of Astral. We learn a little bit about the numbers. Shark kind of gets possessed a little bit. We see a lot of Shark's monsters. Honestly, this is a really solid duel. Yuma uses the very classic, very iconic double or nothing combination with Utopia to defeat Shark. All in all, I thought the duel quality was really good. Early on in ZEL, Yuma was a little hyper for me. I came to obviously love Yuma as he developed down the road. He was a little much for me, and sometimes in the duel there were moments where I was like, that's a little... It's a lot, Yuma. So that's kind of why I put the duel a little lower on my list in comparison to the 3 that are ahead of it. But all in all, it's got good dueling action. It's a kickoff duel between a pro tag and a rival, which always gets bonus points for me. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Coming in 3rd is actually the first duel in Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, Yuya versus the Sledgehammer. Might be an unpopular pick. I'm not sure if people are going to put this duel as high as I have, but watching it back, I really thought that this duel was a great introductory duel for Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 and for Yuya's character. First of all, the backstory there is really good. Yuya is dueling the guy that his dad was supposed to duel against before his dad ended up disappearing. So obviously there was a lot of emotional weight for Yuya going into this duel, and I feel like that immediately kind of makes you sympathize with Yuya, that he is versing this, bully a-hole of a character who is the pro champion and the current champion when the duel begins. And so I thought the setup for this duel was really, really good. And again, as soon as you can make a personal connection between 2 characters, which is not easy to do, by the way, in the very first duel, that already is getting bonus points in my eyes. And I thought the action was really good. I loved the concept of the, action duel. And, as the show went on, I feel like action cards the action cards kind of started to get ruined for me when every time Yuya would get an action card, it was Miracle and Evade. But I feel like this duel kind of had the allure of early Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, and that was a really enjoyable time to watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, and it reminded me of how cool action dueling is. And this is a great moment, too, in this duel when Yuya gets pendulum summoning. Something happens where he looks very down in the dirt. He has that, vision about his father, what his dad said to him, and he has this great sequence where his Odd Eyes monsters change into pendulum monsters, and he ends up just smoking the Sledgehammer, and that was a really, really cool moment for me. One of my favorites, and just rewatching it, I thought the dueling quality, the back and forth was really good. I thought the story and the build-up was really good. Maybe actually one of the best duels with pre-duel build-up that we have seen in a first episode. Not counting maybe Yugi versus Kaiba, but that's a little different because they had a manga to and Season 0 to kind of hype that one up. But yeah, Yuya versus Sledgehammer was a really, really good opening duel. I think it's a duel a lot of people kind of overlook, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it did a good job of introducing a lot of characters. It lasted even, over an episode. And yeah, I thought it was really, really well done. So it comes in at number 3 for me, takes the bronze medal on this list. Might be an unpopular opinion, I have a feeling it will be, but Yuya versus Sledgehammer, number 3. This was hard. I mean, this was so hard. I cannot tell you how many times I've gone back and forth, and ultimately, by the time this video gets uploaded, I might feel a little differently about it. So do not take my number 1 and number 2 on this list as, you know, feeling very confident about where I'm ranking these, because these two duels are so enjoyable and so well done, in my opinion. It's very hard to split them. But coming in number 2, coming in the runner-up spot, is Yugi versus Kaiba, the duel that kicks off Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters. I love Yugi versus Kaiba. In my opinion, it still has the most iconic moment in the entire Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise, Exodia Obliterate, which is an incredible moment. The dueling leading up to that was good. Seto Kaiba gets his 3 blue eyes onto the field. Yugi is just struggling to survive. He somehow manages to get Swords of Revealing Light, but he is not looking good. He is really, really struggling, and as he's drawing these pieces of Exodia, he realizes the only way that he can defeat Kaiba is by drawing that final piece. You have the friendship moment, which, of course, friendship speech is heavily memed in Yu-Gi-Oh!, but it is what allows Yugi to get his concentration back, to get his focus on the duel. And again, that exchange between Yugi and Kaiba, whether it's the dub or whether it's the sub, it's a phenomenal exchange. It still gives me chills every single time that I watch it. Exodia, Obliterate, Kaiba gets completely annihilated, and then Yugi hits him with that good old mind crush to, you know, shatter the darkness in his heart. But it's just two titans just going back and forth, and Kaiba completely dominating him, and then to see the smugness of Kaiba just leave his face when Yugi flashes that final Exodia card, it's phenomenal. You know, the duel besides that moment, though, is a little, you know, it's Duelist Kingdom rules, so it's not the best back and forth, but that moment is just so legendary to me that I couldn't put it any lower than the number 2 spot. But there is a duel that I think is a little better than it, and that's the duel we're about to get into. But Yugi versus Seto Kaiba is number 2 for me on top debut duels. The best opening duel that we have had in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Show is actually Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, Judai, or Jaden in the dub, versus Chronos, or Crowler, in the dub. This duel, maybe it's the foreshadowing of the duel that we get in Season 4, which is also an incredible, phenomenal duel. But I thought this duel, you know, because I rewatched all of these duels, this was the best one. And even though I wanted to put Yugi versus Kaiba number 1, and even going into this list, I thought that I would definitely have Yugi Kaiba number 1, rewatching the Judai and Chronos duel, I had to put it number 1. I just feel like this duel was a really, really good duel. The back and forth between Judai and Chronos is hilarious to watch, and it's very similar to what Kaiba was doing to Yugi, where you're kind of underestimating your opponent. You think you're the crap, for lack of a better term. You bring your own deck to this duel. If you are Chronos, he should have went immediately into retirement, get that pension plan, and leave the school. You bring your own deck to this duel. You don't even use the deck that you're supposed to use when you duel students in the testing room, and yet Judai still beats you. He still kicks your ass. It's an incredible duel, and it really just, I think, foreshadows the energy that Judai gives throughout the entire show. I've said it a lot. Judai, for me, really carried Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and this episode just shows the never say never attitude, the determination, the kindness, and again, all foreshadowing to what would become in Season 4. And maybe that Season 4 rematch duel, because it's just so symbolic, does kind of affect my biasy when I rewatch this duel, knowing that that duel happens. But I thought the Judai versus Chronos Episode 1 duel was a great way to debut the kind of the structure of how this school is going to work, where you have your smug elite people like Chronos, like Manjome, and then you have your lower people that can still be just as good in the world of Yu-Gi-Oh! As your elite rich people like Judai, not Manjome, Sho, and Bastion. And I thought that this episode was a great debut episode. The duel was a great debut duel, and Judai ends up getting the win by using that classic elemental hero Flame Wingman and Skyscraper combination. He destroys Kronos' Ancient Gear Golem, and then he inflicts the damage, the attack of Ancient Gear Golem as damage, wiping out Chronos' life points and shocking, I think, every single person in the building except Judai. It was great. It's a really fun, great debut duel, and I did have to put it a little higher for me than Yugi versus Kaiba, but those were two ones that I was really going back and forth with. That's my list, guys, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed me ranking every single debut duel that we have ever had in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! I have done this with the final boss duels, so if you want to watch that video, it's kind of similar to this. Please click the link in the description. I'll have it in the link, and that was also suggested by Stella Sky. Big thank you to Stella Sky once again for suggesting this video. As an Egyptian God tier patron, that is one of the perks you get every single month. So thank you again, Stella. And thank you guys for watching. Please let me know your favorite opening duel in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! And let me know your least favorite opening duel in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! Even if you don't want to rank all of these, maybe because you haven't seen all the shows or you just don't feel like it, I'd love to know your favorite and least favorite. That's my favorite part about making these sorts of videos. Thank you all so much for watching. And a special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons, Horace Maye, Goosey Q, Panther J, Blue Maiden 28, Jarrett Buller, and Aura Dragon, and to my Diamond tier patrons, Jesse Wood, Latrell Smith, and Anime Kaput, and to my Egyptian God tier patrons, XZ's Lover 104, Pegasus Seiya, and Stella Sky. Thank you guys all so much for your incredible support of me. I would not be able to do this without all of you. And thank you to everyone who supports me on Patreon, is a YouTube channel member, and watches my videos, because without you guys, I definitely would not be able to do any of this. Thank you all so much for watching. I will talk to you down below, and I hope you have an amazing day.